Live and Let Drive is a road trip show. Why? Two things changed life as we know it. The freedom to vote, the freedom to buy a car. Driving is the most freeing thing we can do. It's why buying our first car is the most important act, maybe, in our lives, short of having kids. I could go every week and talk about radar detectors, speeding, escaping police. But that's just a small aspect of what I love about driving. For this show to be interesting for me, for this show to be interesting for anyone who doesn't already know about why I'm here doing this show, we have to do things that are unexpected. Two more words: El Salvador. I'll be the first one to say that JF is the most unfun road trip partner anyone could have. I was told by a very wise man that if you click your driving shoe heels together 3 times and repeat, that would never happen if JF was with us. Something good will happen. Today, JF is not with us. JF is not with us. JF is not with us. And we're on the way to El Salvador. I can honestly say I had no desire to go to El Salvador. But when JF called and said, "You're going to El Salvador, call this guy Julio," I trusted him. JF still hasn't said why I'm in El Salvador. Although I have to say, like Baja, Mexico, it's nothing like anyone told me it would be. And this Julio guy, editor of Speed Magazine, is still not here. Allegedly, the most important car journalist in Central America, owner of a Renault Clio RS, which is a car that I don't believe exists in Central America. This guy, dude, I recognize you from Rensport, dude.
Freaking icon,
dude,
man. So good to see you, man.
Objects in the mirror are exactly as far away as they appear when he's driving. You are the most interesting man in Central America,
no.
dude. Awesome,
Stop
dude.
That. Stop that, man.
JF didn't tell me it was you.
Really?
Well, JF doesn't have very good taste in friends, and he said you were a good friend of his. Within 5 minutes, it became very obvious as to why, if I wasn't on this show, I'd watch this show. And as to why, if Julio was looking for a political position, he literally should be on the cabinet of El Salvadorian president as Minister of Commerce. Because Julio convinced me that El Salvador might be one of the last bastions of real car culture. And he promised to show me why. My family business is a car rental business. I grew up with rental cars. And I can say without a doubt, anyone who's ever said that they've driven the worst rental car of all time, they were lying. I drove the worst rental car of all time. It's the worst rental car I've ever driven, but it's still a great car.
Well,
I mean, look at
it's better than walking, you know.
Look at it. When you go to Pebble Beach, they review cars. They discuss the patina. And look at the patina of this steering wheel.
Absolutely nothing.
It's awesome. Also, it's the first rental car I've ever had delivered with an empty fuel tank. It's a 2003 Sentra.
Yeah, that's right. Made in Mexico and still sold brand new.
It's a good car. This car had more loose trim than a U-Pen post-victory party. I don't recommend renting Nissans in El Salvador. Ever. On the way to our first surprise stop, Julio gave us a little tour of San Salvador. Amazingly, despite all the warnings and the U.S. State Department website and the CIA fact book page, San Salvador, or at least the parts we saw, looked a lot like Brentwood. And I mean, the parts of Brentwood where everyone's a celebrity and you have gates and guards and barbed wire, except that in San Salvador, everybody has gates and guards and barbed wire. In fact, there's more barbed wire here than I've ever seen outside of Austin, New York, which is where Sing Sing is located. And that's in addition to the security guards everywhere in the city with M16s, with pump-action shotguns over their shoulders. Everywhere. Julio's case for why real car culture exists in El Salvador in a way it rarely exists almost anywhere else unfolded in a very logical manner. If you want to buy a car in El Salvador, to be clear, there are 5 million people in this country. 12,000 new cars are sold every year. You really need to be ready to spend money. If a car is manufactured in Germany, if that car is a VW GTI, and you want to buy one here new, be prepared to spend $45,000. Kids in Southern California have no idea how lucky they are that they can roll in and buy this car brand new for half what it costs here. Used, under 20. And I imagine the used market here is not that large because there's not that many cars around. Why is it so expensive to buy this car?
Well, first thing, taxes. We have very high taxes for the cars depending on the engine size. So the larger the engine, the higher the taxes.
Sure.
Plus, the dealers need to have a stock of trained personnel for this car, parts, and all that doesn't make sense when you sell only a handful of these cars, and not many people can buy this car because of its size, and they rather buy taller, larger SUVs.
If you live in a country like El Salvador where there is no law barring the transportation of an unlimited number of people in the bed of your pickup, then $14,000 buys you this.
We have this little pickup truck called Salvador. This is made in Brazil. It's small, it's got an interesting cargo boot, which is basic in this country. Why? Because people uses this to take more as a people carrier.
Talk about transportation culture. No law against transporting people unbelted, unsecured, in the back of a pickup, on top of a truck, on top of a car. No law against it. In fact, a pickup which actually has a step in the side of the bed so you can more easily transport people in a manner that would get you arrested in the US. But if you're willing to buy a VW, say, manufactured in Mexico, you can buy a car here that you can't get in the US. That's really, really cool. 4-wheel drive, 4-door, 6-seater pickup with a 2-liter 4-cylinder diesel engine. And it was called the Amarok. I wouldn't care who manufactured it. And that car is $25,000?
Not only a diesel, but it's got a 4-cylinder twin turbo.
$25,000 for this? This car would sell in the US like hotcakes. It's like an eco-avalanche on crack designed by Germans. Awesome. Well, that's what you get in El Salvador at the VW dealership. Julio turned out to be an amazing tour guide, and he taught us a lot of things about the local culture. Far more than I could possibly teach anyone who came to New York. Do you have any mythological beasts or monsters of El Salvador?
There are a couple of legends here.
Tell us about them.
One of them is this beautiful woman. This beautiful woman that comes out at night.
Yes.
And harasses drunk men. So what happens? Yeah, don't laugh. It's part of a local mythology. So what does she do?
In LA, it's called Lindsay Lohan.
Look, okay, Lilo.
No, seriously. So there's a mythological beast that harasses drunk men.
Drunk men.
And what's this
drunk
thing
men.
called?
Siwanava.
Siwanava?
Yeah. Oh, you pronounce it well. Correctly. So what she does is when you're going home drunk and you see this beautiful woman calling you with her huge breasts out. Of course, yes. You come and get close to her, and when you get close to her and speak to her and get hypnotized by her beauty, suddenly she becomes a monster.
Right, of course.
And she kills you, or she touches your pee-pee,
right,
and it goes numb forever.
Because I was doing some research
Yeah.
about the other mythological beasts which only attacks sober men. And she's very short and has a very large behind. And as soon as you approach her, she runs away.
Okay.
And then you're horny for the rest of your life. Someone's mentioned to me the tragedy of El Salvador in the essays of Joan Didion 20 years ago. The only tragedy in El Salvador today is that the kinds of cars the enthusiasts wish they could afford aren't even imported here. I'm talking about cars with which one could truly take advantage of the unbelievable driving roads surrounding the city. Unbelievable mountain driving roads. Not all in perfect condition. All completely ripe for Subaru STIs, Evos, 911s. I mean, we told Julio we wanted to get out of the city. He told us that we should show a little bit of patience because he was going to take us somewhere truly magnificent. And on the way to magnificence, we stopped in Planes de Renderos, a little bite to eat, overlooking San Salvador. The Planes de Renderos, one of the most beautiful locations in all of El Salvador. Behind us, the hill San Jacinto, and over Julio's shoulders, the volcano of San Salvador. I'm constantly reminded whenever I travel that I am statistically more likely to discover the pieces of a mystery falling into place before my eyes anywhere I go. And today, I learned that the volcano of San Salvador erupted exactly 500 years ago. Not a coincidence, perhaps, that it was 499 years ago and 8 months, the first sightings of a Quetzalcoatl youngling not 1,000 miles north in Tehuacan, Mexico. And in an even further coincidence, I've just learned from the man downstairs, whose English was quite poor, but I'm quite sure I understood that he told me that a Quetzalcoatl youngling's flight range in its first month of life is exactly 1,000 miles.
What are you talking about, man?
It's just... This week on Made Up History, the origins of Quetzalcoatl, also known as the Medusa of the South. Can we add that in? Julio pulled off quite a number convincing JF to send us down here, and quite a number on me convincing me that we should just do whatever he says. But the case unfolded even further, and he promised us something special before the end of the day. And as we headed further into the mountains, we came to a driveway. And I could tell, looking up this driveway, something very special awaited us at the top. If you graded a car collection on a curve based on distance from a major dealership and other collectors, well, pretty much everybody in Connecticut would be pretty low on the scale. Who would expect, on top of a mountain in El Salvador, that you would find several original and several extraordinarily rare replicas of some of the most expensive Porsches ever made. And now we have the real reason JF sent me to El Salvador. Because here, without irony, I can truly say, in this secret location, we're about to meet a man for whom, when it is said, stay thirsty, my friends, he's not joking. He is the most interesting man in El Salvador, a man who's going to show us his car collection, Julio's good friend, Gino.
Welcome to my home, Alex. Thank you for coming.
So much for having us. Show us your car collection and tell us about your passion for cars. What is this?
This car have a trailer. Mm-hmm. They go in the Formula Cayman.
Okay. Does this car ever leave the house?
Sí.
You drive this car on this. You take this out.
Sí.
I don't even want to ask what this is worth. This is This might be the coolest bug variant I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
And this, I kind of know what it is. Tell us about it.
It's 366B, yeah, 15659.
And you take this out on the roads in El Salvador.
I'm going to ride this car to Nicaragua every time I'm going there.
Let's be clear. He drives this car to Nicaragua and back. I cannot believe what I'm hearing. Open the back of Car and Driver, and you'll see ads. Replica kits for AC Cobras, replicas 356s. But there are some replicas so rare that they could only have been built by someone who bought the plans from Porsche. In fact, there are some replicas so rare that there are only 2 originals and 1 replica. And they're here in El Salvador.
This is the first replica in the world, 55 coupe. In the world, they make 2 cars coupe, with the racing in Le Mans and racing to Panamericana. They give me the planos, and I design, I scala the car. To make this car, I made 3 years, because I made for the hands, you know. Only I make 2 this car, because originally they make only 2. This is the 718 RSK. This car I building here in El Salvador. This is the 55 Spider. This car I driving from Mexico to El Salvador.
But what moved me the most and reminded me of my own father and his love of cars, the same love of cars he passed on to me, was the most interesting car Gino had in his collection. A 1959 Willys Jeep, heavily modified, which looks like it could have driven over a Hummer without a dent, which he'd paint on the side La Preciosa, named after his wife, who had been born in 1959 and who passed away. I've seen a lot of cool cars, and I've seen some car collections, but I wish every trip brought me a new friend who actually surprised me every time he took me anywhere. Julio promised me something really special and really unexpected for our next day. And he was right. So, JF, stand by, stop. Wait, hold on. JF, why am I in Houston Airport? To El Salvador. Houston Airport, layover. Also, the Energy City, home of rollerball champion Jonathan E. What happened? Well, I have some good news for you. You're not here. This episode's going to be awesome. What's the bad news? I heard a rumor he was sampling the devil's lettuce and missed his flight.
Who missed their flight?
Tom.
Stop.
Yeah, Tom missed the flight.
Are you serious?
All right, just tell me this one thing. Julio, does he smoke cigarettes? Okay, but just promise me when we get there, there'll be something to do in El Salvador that makes sense. All right, just keep the ransom money ready, because it's the 8th most dangerous country in the world, and that's today. If you don't hear from me in 24 hours, I'm dead. Because Tom would get us kidnapped completely, and he would piss off kidnapper. In fact, no, if he was with us, we could use him as bait and say that he's the wealthy guy, we work for him. If he was with us, it would be a lot safer. That's okay, and remember, I want to use positive, life-affirming security protocols. We call you every 2 hours to verify we're alive, like astronauts. And if we don't, call the State Department immediately, okay? Yeah, and remember, I'm worth a lot more than Josh, because, you know, I've got the white jacket on. Hey, see you later, goodbye. Thank God you're not with us, because, you know, they don't make currency that small enough to ransom you out. See you later, bye.